Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday Night Live with Alan and Greg. And tonight we are doing our 1 year anniversary show because it was 1 year last week of November 27th that we did our first show. And the whole show idea is all Alan's fault. I can't get my finger to point at you.
Yeah, you got to point the opposite way.
Opposite way. I'm pointing at you because this show is all your fault. This is.
Yeah, I'm the idea man.
You are the idea man.
Then I'm the comic relief too. But you're the straight guy with all the information. But yeah, that's my MO. I get people, or I come up with an idea like Faulkner and August, like we were saying, or whatever. I do it in real life too. Some people call it manipulation, but then I get other people to get involved. I recruit like good people to make it better. You know.
I know. So, I think I have organized maybe 2, maybe 3 of the guests in the past year. All the rest are you working it out, getting them in?
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's fun, and then we've had people who aren't ready yet. That's why we do these open mics sometimes. People can try out being live, and we always forget. Like, if anybody wants to be on the show, just drop us a line.
Yeah, indeed, just a message or a Voxer. We've had 2 comments. We've had Zap. Hello, hey, Zap. And Gareth. Middle of the night, Gareth. It's always fun to have you on. Yeah.
Yeah, Gareth's a great guest, too.
He is.
Well, we've had him on twice, right?
At least Gareth. Twice. And I think he popped up in an open mic as well. So he might have been on 3 times.
And Dad's been on like 2-3 times.
Yeah.
MJ twice. Mark at Elvis twice, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm running out of friends. No, we're actually booked up till like January. So keep it rolling.
Hello, MJ. You know, you just spoke her name, and then she.
Yeah, that's the deal.
I'm charging my phone, but I can pop in for a bit if you'd like. Yeah, Gareth, we'd love to have it. I'm going to open that up in just a minute or 2. It began as a mistake.
Oh yeah.
Hello.
I don't know their name, but they've been commenting on some of my videos.
Yeah.
Whoever it is.
And Peter the Book Lover. Hello, Peter.
I haven't seen Peter in a while. He's from Chicago. He's from Chicago.
Yeah, he used to. I used to remember he used to be a fairly regular video maker, but I think he's backed out. I don't know. And William.
Hey, William.
William.
Indonesia.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's get talking a bit. What have you been reading this week, or just want to talk about?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I read and did 2 book reviews on. I went through a Clarice Lispector phase. These are her short stories, and this is her last novel. Really thin. It's only 77 pages long, but it might be my favorite. So, and I've read this is the 3rd time I've read this. I read it 2nd time with Una at the Codex Cantina and Roz at Scaladanling about the books, and Fraser Simmons, is it? We read it in August of 2022. I've got a lot of notes on it.
See that? I have not read that one yet, but I have it on my Kindle. So yeah, I think I'm going to pop that into my Read What You Own challenge because it counts as a book. It's only 78 pages.
Yeah, it's a great book. Then I've been reading this because I found it free on my Libby for the Audible, but I've been reading it. You can see the notes. I haven't been scribbling on it. There's a lot of pictures in this, which is cool. It's about a guy who loses his memory in Italy, and he's a book seller and a book lover, and his parents' attic are all his old comic books and all this, old newspapers, old journals, which I can relate to, going through all that old stuff. It's like that. But it's really a lot of stuff is going over my head because it's really erudite. It's about Italy. So there's Italian books and paintings referenced that are over my head. It's a eco book. So it's going to be.
Oh, he's. You read his book and you think like, how can anyone be that smart?
Yeah, exactly.
And he goes way over my head.
Yeah, well, this one's a good in. I mean, I've read Foucault's Pendulum, and I'd like to read it again. But I know a lot about the Tree of Life and Jewish mysticism, so it helps.
I think I even.
I'm gonna get some coffee. Huh?
I have it on my shelf.
Oh, what's that again?
I have it on my shelf.
What is it?
Same book you're reading.
Oh, wow, huge.
I have Foucault's Pendulum too. That's in a book and a half.
Right. Oh, wow. So you have the big coffee table book of this.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. I didn't see it while I was there.
Well, I have a lot of books here. Okay,
Yeah.
let's say hello to Elizabeth Bokins.
Hey, Elizabeth.
MJ, I just wanted to see how happy I am that the show is celebrating an anniversary. The first
I got lights on. Look,
hey,
I got lights on. Did you see the lights? They're little shamrocks.
Gareth's second year as Kindle. Peter the Book Lover. Has Steven Spielberg written any books? I have no idea.
I don't know. IDK on that.
Yeah. Peter makes poetry videos now.
Oh, all right.
MJ, I can't stick around tonight. Super tired from the weekend. I'll catch you in the replay. Love you guys. Here's more years on Monday Night Live show. Thanks, MJ. All right.
She likes the decor. Thanks. I'm going to grab some coffee.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about the book that I just finished here recently. This is Day of the Triffids by John Wyndham. This is for Remember December. How do you really feel about a book? And I really liked it. This is one of my favorite science fiction books of all time. It is also going with Gareth's Winter of Wyndham. He's also doing an event where you're supposed to read a Wyndham book every month in winter. And again, this is such an amazing book. It was written in 1952 and just absolutely nails the whole spirit of post-apocalyptic feel with scary plant monsters.
Really? Scary plant monsters. Wow, I've never come across Mr. Wyndham.
He may be more British than American. I mean, this is his most famous book, but he's very well known as an English science fiction author, and that's what I read. I am also finishing up an audiobook called The Maniac by Benjamin Labatut, and it's a novel sort of told as a biographical reminiscences. It's about Jean von Neumann. He was a very famous Hungarian mathematician and physicist during World War II, and it's sort of the father of the modern computer and bomb. He worked on the hydrogen and the both hydrogen bomb and the atomic bomb. That's going to be a really good book when I finish it. Peter the Book Lover, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Okay. I am going to go ahead and post the link down in the comments. If anyone wants to pop in and say hello, we can get you on the show. I'd kind of like to quiz people in the comments. What, and I'm going to ask you, Alan, I'm going to answer too. What do you think is going to be your favorite book of the year?
Oh, mine's already like between War and Peace and the Satanic Verses off the top of my head. I've read 60 books this year, and I read big books, and you do too. Like we read the Recognitions this year. And then I read Stephen King's 11/22/63. That's 1,000 pages. What about you?
Well, I'm thinking about books, and I'm excluding rereads, because if you include your rereads, they're always going to be on the top of the list because you're rereading a lot of your favorite books.
Right.
And I'm going to put that up so people can see the StreamYard pass. The Recognitions is near the top. A couple other nonfiction books really struck me. The one All We Need, no, Worse Than Hell.
Oh yeah,
A Worse Place Than Hell is very close to being a top contender. And that's a nonfiction book about the Civil War. You remember?
Oh sure, yeah, it's right behind me. That's a great book, told from 5 people's perspectives, and Walt Whitman's in it.
Walt Whitman, and another was the book on the Sandy Hook shootings.
Yeah, I read that too.
Well, you read that after I talked about that a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I listened to it. I think I listened to it.
I also did the audiobook on that one.
Yeah, that really depressed me for a few days afterwards. I was really got me down.
Well, it's kind of natural to be down about just how cavalier this country is about shootings. I mean, lots of people die, and we never do anything about it. It just sort of
yeah, I think we got to do something about the AK-47s. Unless you're military, there's no need for anyone to have that. Well, it's my hobby. It's my hobby. I like to, it costs $100 in ammunition, but it's my hobby. Well, get another hobby.
Yeah.
I like to shoot my machine gun. Todd Rundgren has a song called Gun. It's really good.
All right.
I'm not anti-gun. I think property owners, I think you should own a gun.
I should not own a gun.
Well, yeah, you live in a good gated community, though, too. So,
no, I am not in a gated community.
Well, you have a gate.
They don't
use
not a gate. It's not a gate that would prevent anyone from getting.
No, you can walk around it. There's nobody like in the little house standing guard with the gate. Oh, hello, Greg. Go on in.
As I said, I have nothing worth dying for and nothing worth killing for in this house. So,
True. Yeah, I wouldn't have a gun. I used to have guns in the 80s. My dad and all my relatives have guns in Arizona, but that's all right. It's kind of the Wild West out there. I know how to shoot a gun. Whenever I go to Arizona, me and my dad go out and shoot 22s at targets. But Boy's Life, that's by McCammon, right?
Robert McCammon. Yeah, I read that in the 80s.
He's a great writer, huh?
He was
horror writer, but Boy's Life isn't horror. And there's another novel that isn't horror either, about a small town. That's good. I've read a lot of his stuff.
I used to read him rather frequently when he was writing in the 80s.
Yeah,
he come out, and then he published a novel like Gone South.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
And that was like people traveling and meeting up with some drug dealers in some swampy area. And then he stopped publishing for like 15, 20 years.
Oh. Yeah, you read Swan Song. I'd like to read that. Swan Song, that's a good horror novel.
It is. I have it on my Kindle for a reread someday. And 1984, well, we did 1984 earlier as a part of the End of the World Book Club this year, and that's a great book.
Yeah, sure is. What about Robert McCammon's short story book called Blue something?
Blue World. Yeah, I read that back in the day.
You remember the story called Pin? Pin?
No.
Where a guy puts a pin into his eyeball?
No.
You don't remember that story?
No.
I remember that story from back in the 80s. It's so good. I remember still.
All right.
Yeah. That would be.
It'd be Malamud's The Assistant. I don't think I have read. What is Malamud's most famous book?
IDK.
He wrote a very famous book. I read it. I read it in the 90s. So I can't quite remember. It'll come to me in a minute. He says no, Natural. It wasn't The Natural. I don't remember.
Right. The baseball one, The Natural.
Yeah, he said, I guess it's not. I guess it's second most famous or something. So Elizabeth, get another hobby. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
The Fixer. Yeah, that he put it. He put it out as a Fixer. I'll get to that in a moment. And again, I read in the 90s, so
Malmud books.
I don't remember all that much detail about it. Peter the Book Lover. My favorite this year is The Godfather by Mario Puzo.
Yeah, that's a good book. Another great writer. I've read a few of his books. He's popular. He's popular.
I read The Godfather, but that again, I read that back in the 90s. So my
one about Odessa. There's an Odessa, something Odessa in the title.
Odessa File is Frederick Forsyth.
Oh, I think I've read a few Puzo though.
Hold on. We got some people wanting to join. Yeah. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello.
Oh,
hey, how's it going?
Good. Yes.
You want to come on before you come on next month, right? Or no? When is she scheduled for? Right?
You vaguely mentioned February.
Man.
Oh.
Well. The thing is, if we have you on, I want to do it before they announce the BookTube Prize nominations, but after we vote.
Oh, okay. So that would be sometimes in January.
Sometime in January, where we can just sort of muddle through and say what we think about it's going to be nominated.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Okay, yeah. We'll work on. Well, I guess we're going to have to get it done by the 15th.
Yep. And
then you get it on the February. So somewhere between the 15th and the 30th of January. Yep. All right.
Yeah. Okay. I'll write it down in my calendar.
Well, I'll Voxer you to set it up. Now we also have one more person in the wings to come in. Hey there, Gareth.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
How's it going for you, Gareth?
Yeah, all good. Yeah. I've got my cup of tea. Got biscuit. It's all good.
Cool. So now that we got Elizabeth and Gareth, I'll ask Alan, what do you think is going to be your favorite books of this year? Elizabeth and Gareth.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought you were asking Alan.
I might have said Alan, but I meant Elizabeth and Gareth.
Oh, Elizabeth, you go first.
I don't know yet. I'm still on the fence. I guess there's still room for a favorite book of the year. I think the one that surprised me the most is one of the books that I read for the BookTube Prize, which was Paradise Falls by Keith
Oh,
O'Brien. I
that
did not
was
expect to like this book that much. Yeah. So
yes. And I had read that book, and then I took a trip to Niagara Falls, and I forgot to go visit the area. But maybe I wouldn't want to visit that area anyway. But that was an amazing piece of journalism. It really.
it was, and the way it was told, I thought it read super well, super engaging, and it's such a good. It was well done.
It does. It's a type of nonfiction book that I really like, because sometimes you read a nonfiction book that's by a scholar. We're talking about their subject.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if you had to read Blood and Ruin for the BookTube Prize, the one on World War II that was 1,000
I know
pages.
it was like this thick.
And I just kept remembering in one chapter, he talks like there were 1,326 soldiers on the field. And I'm going, do you really need to tell us?
Yeah, give us their names while you're at it.
Yes, and he did. I mean, he had done so much research, and he wanted to squeeze every little piece of research into there to show that he'd done it and prove his thesis. But I remember it's like he talked about the big figures. Like if I said Rommel, I'm sure all of us would know who Rommel is, right? But in the book, he just said, well, Rommel in Africa. And I'm going like, okay. You're doing a history. You really sort of need to give a little bit of an introduction because I don't know everyone in the World War II.
No, and for someone, it's going to be their first book on World War II.
Right.
And they will need context.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Gareth?
Well, it's funny that you asked because I've been compiling my top 10 books of 2023 for a video I want to film in the next couple of days.
You want to hold off? We're going to reveal one.
Well, yeah. I know what the top one is, but it's just interesting that I found it really hard to whittle it down to 10. I've had such a good year of reading. So I had about 16 books listed. So I've had to sort of not include some, which would be a shame, but you got to have 10, haven't you? You can't have 16. It's just not on, is it? So
I've seen people cheat and say 10 and 6 others.
Brian kept doing top 11 stuff, didn't he? So that was very rebellious, wasn't it? But yeah, the top spot is definitely Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby.
Okay.
I still, even though I read it in February, I think it was, I still remember so much about it, and I don't have a great, I don't retain information that well anymore, but I really do retain that book really well, and it's just, I remember how it felt reading it, and how thrilling it was. Razorblade Tears.
Yeah.
Is that his first book?
No, it's like possibly his third. I don't know, but it was the one before last because he's done a new one that I haven't got. S.A. Cosby.
His name again?
S.A. Cosby.
Thanks.
Yeah. I've got another one, Blacktop Wasteland, to read, but I haven't got to it yet.
Oh, that's what I have on my Kindle.
You got that with you?
I believe that's his first book.
Is it?
I think so.
Yeah, I bought it before the new one came out, so it's definitely not the new one. But yeah, amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah, I mean, on the list, I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole list, but there is my first ever James Baldwin on the list. That was really good.
Yeah, which one?
Giovanni's Room. I read that.
I haven't read that one. I've read a lot of his other ones, but a lot of his essay books I like. I have a Baldwin buddy reading partner, Patrice Jones. We read every February something by Baldwin.
Oh, okay.
She's a commenter extraordinaire. Commenter.
Yeah, that's cool. The people who comment are as important as the people who have got YouTube channels, aren't they?
Yeah. Otherwise, we'd just be we would be our own audience.
I know. Like that. Talking into a vacuum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I am also going to do I think I'm just going to do a top 5 and a bottom 5 as well.
And then you're going to do like 20 honorable mentions.
No, I think I'm going to just stick to the bottom 5 and the top 5.
The bottom 5. I haven't really had. I've been quite lucky. I haven't had many books I didn't like, so I wouldn't be able to do a bottom 5. Yeah,
I have a bottom 1, but I DNF'd it. It was Spare by Prince Harry.
Oh,
I'm not counting DNFs. I'm only counting
DNF Spare. Dang, I like him. All right, or maybe if I read the book, I wouldn't.
Yeah, well, it starts in the first 50 pages. He starts by saying that reality is something that we make, that facts are a story. So already he announces that he has issues with reality. So that doesn't bode well. And then in the next pages, I thought it lacked kindness. He sort of was intent on seeing the bad side of everything. And that was a bit depressing. So I said, nah, I'm not reading that.
You know, he's not a man who should be bitter at life. He's been handed a whole lot free of charge, sort of, as you would say, you know.
Yeah. I understand that he went through something hard when his mother died and he had to grieve in public and all of that. That was hard. I understand. But does it justify everything? Probably not.
And you know something, I fear that book is going to be on the Booktube Prize nonfiction list.
No.
You don't think so? You don't think other people are going to vote for it?
Well, Robert is not going to put it in the initial list because he doesn't necessarily go for the most popular books. He goes for books that have been nominated for prizes and that have good reviews. And Spare doesn't have many good reviews.
Oh, good.
So,
there's a couple popular
celebrity memoirs this year. There are tons of them.
And I'm just saying, please no, because
I think the Barbara Streisand could make it on the list.
I like her. I saw a PBS show on her last night when she went back to Brooklyn. Yeah, I watched it. It was like 3 a.m.
You're brave.
I like
or
her.
Insomniac.
Yeah. I found the book. I
did have to read one celebrity memoir that was I'm Glad My Mother Died.
Oh, I've heard about that. You didn't like it? Greg didn't like it. Well, I DNF'd.
Did you read one, Elizabeth?
No. I was lucky this year. I had 0 memoirs to read. No, one memoir to read for the Booktube Prize.
Okay.
I DNF'd Lincoln in the Bardo last month. Yeah. Did you guys like Lincoln in the Bardo? I think, Gareth, you said you hadn't read it yet, or
I haven't read that one. No, and I did know about it. I know it's quite experimental in it, but
I didn't like it. I gave it over 100 pages, 114 pages, and
well, that's enough. You gave it a go if it wasn't connecting.
Well, the thing is, it's a short book. It's about 250 pages, something like that. But he has more than 200 narrators in the book.
Right.
So you get lots of different views on the subject from different points of view.
Okay.
It's like 350.
350, but still like 200 narrators because they did an audiobook and they hired 200 narrators to do the book.
I tried to listen to that too. Like they had a lot of actors I like Julianne Moore. And
his wife did it some. His daughter did one, and so
that's hilarious.
But the thing is, they don't tell you who's narrating the parts. So you got to listen to see who the really unprofessional. I mean, some of them are very short, and you can sort of say, okay, that might be his daughter because she's just sort of reading the text, but still,
he'll throw in books. He'll throw in like a history book, and he'll cite like the name and when it was published, like a dissertation or something. But like, there's no testing.
Are you frozen?
So I didn't like that part.
I'm gonna read through a couple of comments.
But if it's a book where it's deliberately trying to find different ways of of putting out the narrative, and it's kind of being experimental in the way that you're getting information and that kind of thing. I know what I'm hearing reminds me of the Charlie Kaufman film, where they're filming the film, and then the whole city is like the set. It's like a theater piece, but and then they're filming. It's just really like wrapped up in itself. It's like loads of full stuff going on, and basically, I mean, I'm a big Charlie Kaufman fan, but to me, it engages your mind, but it doesn't really engage your heart.
True.
You're talking about the filmmaker Charlie Kaufman.
Yeah.
Did you read his novel Ant Kind?
No, I've got it, and I got very excited when I found it. Didn't even know he'd written a novel, and I've got it on hardback, and I haven't got to it yet. But yeah, no, I love his films. But
it's an all right novel, but he's a filmmaker, and he wrote a weird novel, but it was okay.
I'm expecting it to be, but that's the thing, that I expect it'll just engage my head, but it won't get me there. And I think really good books get you there as well. Do you know what I mean? I think it's got to be both. Otherwise, it's just an exercise in being clever.
Well, I mentioned, Alan, I don't know if you jumped on, that I'm reading another book called The Maniac by Benjamin Labatette, and it's about the John von Neumann, and it's again a novel told in many different voices, so you never hear the main character's voice, but you hear all the opinions, and mostly they're historical figures that really existed. So it's sort of like he did all his research, but he didn't write a biography. He wrote a novel. Kind of curious.
Yeah, sounds very interesting.
And the thing is, you have to be very curious, because he'll go into some very heavy mathematics. He does. Like, there's a guy named Gödel who says you can prove something. No, something can be true that cannot be proved in mathematics.
I suppose that's your premise. Like 2. Can you prove 2?
This is way beyond my mathematical level. This is for graduate students in mathematics. And
okay, that's beyond me too.
Sounds like religion, doesn't it?
It does. But here's Shelley. This might be the space for it, but I think my fave of the year was Cackle by Rachel Harrison. I remember someone did a video about that, about how much she loved that book. And I can't remember whose channel it was, but I put it on my Amazon list. And then the price dropped to $199, but I'd already been in my 100 book challenge band. I'm going like, you're like, okay, it'll drop again. It'll drop again.
Yeah. Is Rachel Harrison the one that did Bad Dolls? Because that was one of the most recent ones I bought before I started doing the challenge, and it's a yellow hardback with 4 short stories in it. I think that's Rachel Harrison. Is it horror stuff?
I don't know. That's it. I just remember the name. The title.
I thought it was quite good. It's quite it's like horror short stories with a feminist kind of tinge to it. I thought they were quite good. I think I was thinking my daughter might really like the book, actually. But yeah, if that's the same person, I could look up Cackle, because it's definitely good enough for me to read something else. If that is the same person.
So, Medium John, any favorite short story collections this year?
I just read Clarissa Lispector's Family Ties. Shannon at Shannon's channel, and I read Dear Life from Alice Munro. That was great. Alice Munro.
I have not read any full short story collections this year.
Yeah, I like short stories.
I'm pretty sure I read one, but I don't remember what it is.
No, I don't think I did.
Yep, and then for June on the Range, I read the complete westerns of Elmore Leonard. Buddy read that with Ollie. He has some great stories.
Oh, wait.
I read one, Jungle Book by Kipling. I knew I read a collection of short stories. It was good.
I'd love to read that. Is it good?
The story collection I read was the Stygian Society books. where
Oh,
Alan
yeah.
had his two poems published. I completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Jungle Book was really good. I totally recommend it.
Okay, now
Yeah.
Kipling gets sort of a bad rap nowadays. Is that a deserved bad rap, or is it just people saying not able to live with? Okay, he lived in a different time and different opinions.
I think it's a
Well,
bad rap because he's accused of cultural appropriation because he was not Indian and he writes about India. I think that's the only reason why he gets a bad reputation. If there's another reason, I didn't see it in his books. In the one that I read.
Now, he did spend a lot of time in India, as I.
Yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
So,
is
I mean,
I've had this album since I was like 8 years old.
Wow.
My grandmother took me to see this movie at a theater.
So it's a narration of the story, or
No,
it's
it's a
the
musical.
soundtrack.
Yeah, I have a lot of soundtrack. I have a lot of musicals.
Okay.
I have My Fair Lady. I've got.
is that the Disney one? Oh, is that the Disney one?
I think there was a.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, Walt Disney songs from Walt Disney.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. No, I had that when I was a kid as well. Not that version, but I had the Jungle Book soundtrack on LP as well. Yeah. I mean, that's we're familiar with that, but obviously the original text would be interesting because it's where it comes from, and I would be interested to know if he is as outdated as the reputation is, because if it's like you say, Elizabeth, that it's kind of treated, it's not sort of seen fairly. That would be interesting to know.
Well, I don't know if there's another reason to criticize Kipling other than that. I don't know if he did something else in his private life that I'm not aware of. But in the Jungle Book,
Colonialism.
I don't think it's that. I think
itself, there's nothing. It's just a delight to read.
Hmm.
Yeah, and of course it's from the 1890s, so you have to expect a society with upper class and lower class and discrimination in it and all of that. But yeah, the Jungle Book was really good.
Yeah, little kid.
Yeah,
with his
I remember
monkey.
reading the Just So stories when I was at school. You know, the how the whale got his spout, I think is one of them. How the leopard got his tail, maybe no, how the leopard got his spots, and then there's another one about how something got his tail. You know, like those animal-based ones. That's Kipling as well, isn't it?
Yep.
I think so.
So I read those as a kid, but a long time ago. But going back to that question about short stories, I'm actually in the middle of a really good short story collection, Friday Black. It's kind of some of them are kind of what if stories, kind of speculative fiction, science fiction ish, but with a kind of an anti-racist message. It's a black British author, and yeah, it's really good. So he's now famous for a book that's been talked about loads, which is called Chain Gang All Stars. But I wanted to read this before I read Chain Gang All Stars because I knew that it existed and it was in the library, so I got it out of the library. But yeah, it's good. So yeah.
The Chain Gang All Stars got nominated for a very prestigious prize, as I remember, and it was kind of a surprise because I guess a lot of the reviewers saying it's not the kind of book. Was it the Pulitzer or was it the National Book Award? I can't remember. It was one of those.
I don't know, but it's been up for a few things. Yeah, so there's a lot of praise for it.
Yeah.
But you can write. I mean, that book, and those short stories are really, really interesting, really well written. So yeah, I'm sure it's good. Yeah. And early, I wish I could remember what it's called. Oh yes, I do remember what it's called. Early on in the year, I did read a really awesome short story collection, which was a bit of a delayed one from New World's November last year, which was called Made to Order. So I kind of finished it this year, early this year. But that was like lots of stories about AI and robotics and stuff, and that was really good. Made to Order.
Okay. So let me go through Peter the Booklover. I'm reading For Whom the Bell Tolls so far. Great so far. I did read that a number of years ago, and oddly, the one thing I remember in that book is Hemingway wrote the book with lots of soldier cuss words in it, and the editor made him take them out. And so whenever he took them out, he just crossed off the word and wrote the word obscenity. So he goes, obscenity, you know, like. And,
Yeah, I like the movie for that too. Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall are in the movie. Do you guys know who wrote the screenplay for the movie? No. Nobody other than Mr. William Faulkner.
Oh,
okay. I did not know that.
My man Faulkner.
I didn't know he wrote for cinema.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, it's my Gremlins jumper.
Oh, it's a horror. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great sweater. I like to send ugly Yeti sweaters that look like Yeti, looking like Santa Claus. My dad must have 3 Yeti sweaters.
Yeah, I've got a few. I've got next week. I'll be wearing my Peanut Snoopy one.
Nice.
And William says it's too early to pick a favorite book of the year. Yeah, it's a little early, but I kind of know the books that I'm going to be reading. I'm doing Remember December, and I got 3 books and I'm not counting those as favorites because they're rereads. And a lot of times, the books that you're going to reread are going to be the ones you really like. So.
Yeah.
Well, you could do a top 5 best rereads of the year. You
could do it now. You could do a third video, top 5 rereads.
Yeah.
Medium John Silver. I read A Farewell to Arms this year, including many alternate final paragraphs from earlier drafts. The one Hemingway chose was the right one, sparse and no attempt at rationalization. Okay. I have only read
years ago when I was in university.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the one scene I remember is when whoever the main character is in the ambulance being driven to the hospital, and all of a sudden he feels this drip, 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 and it starts getting bigger and more, and it's just like, ugh.
That sounds a Voxer.
Someone got a Voxer message.
Yeah, that's me.
I can't turn that thing off. I've set the settings so that there's no sounds coming from Voxer. Still does it though. So I don't know what's going on there.
The settings on your phone, if you have an iPhone or your Android or an iPhone.
It's on the iPad.
On the iPad. It should be the same. If you go into your settings, you just click mute sound or don't send any notification.
It takes a while to kick in because I had turned them off and then I wanted to turn them back on and it wasn't working, and then at some point started to work.
It's like a living thing.
Yeah.
It is. All these updates that you have on your.
I know. Yeah, I have do not disturb on my phones even.
All right, let's see. I don't know, but she did Black Sheep. It's horror. I guess we're talking about
that was Rachel Harrison. Yeah, I think it is the same person. I think it rings a bell that she did Black Sheep as well. I think it's her. And yeah, I like the. I mean, it wasn't like amazing, but it definitely made me think. Yeah, I'd read something else. Yeah.
So, Peter, I would like to read The Jungle Book. A lot of Disney classics came from great books. Pinocchio, Peter Pan, Treasure Planet equals Treasure Island.
Yeah.
Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, there was the Saturday and Sunday morning cartoons. There were tons of them that were based on books. Tom Sawyer, I watched it as a cartoon before I read the book, way before I read the book.
Brilliant.
There was Little Women that was set into a cartoon. The Three Musketeers. Oh, it was D'Artagnan. Yeah, and then there was so many more, and yeah, and later I learned that they were books, and I read the books after I had seen the cartoons.
I just got a flashback of the cartoon One for All for One. I think that's only in the. I don't think that's in the original book, is it?
I think they mention it once. The fact that it's the motto, they mention it once, but that's it.
And I just remember the cartoon. All the hands with the swords just clinging up together, and
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen in the book.
I've read the book. I've read it at least twice.
Yeah,
It's amazing. What I think about the Three Musketeers is the earlier translate. There's a scene with D'Artagnan and Milady, and I guess some of the earlier translations sort of toned things down a bit.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah,
because they don't say, oh, they're not married or whatever, like
yeah. Oh, dirty French people. We're not saying that in English.
something like that.
Well, I really liked his Count of Monte Cristo.
That's a good one too.
Mm-hmm. I've never read Three Musketeers yet.
It's a good one. So I know he did the Count of Monte Cristo, the Three Musketeers. He did a sequel to the Three Musketeers, something like that.
Two sequels, but the third one is just huge. It's never ending.
Well, that's the one I think they split up into 4 books.
Jeez.
It depends on the edition. In French, they split it in 3 generally. Sometimes I think they are called the D'Artagnan romances, and it totals 6 books. I don't know how they count it. In French, it's considered 3 books. So we have the Three Musketeers 20 years later, and then
10 years after.
20 years, and then 10 years after.
10 years after. All right.
Yeah.
Do you have any other favorite of Dumas that are really good, or do you not read him a lot?
Oh, I used to read him a lot when I was a teenager, but I haven't reread him. His best are really the Three Musketeers and the Count of Monte Cristo. The Queen's Necklace was not bad. Which other did I like? One that many people love is the 45 and Joseph Balsamo, and I did not like them. But many people love them. Yeah.
All right.
The Three Musketeers is something I want to reread because I read that when I was really young, and I'd like to read it now because I think I'd take a lot more in this time, But I was a teenager when I read it. So.
Yeah, and I might pick up a short story collection next year. There are some alternative history anthologies that I'd like to read. Okay, Courtney. Hello, Courtney. Sorry if I took half hour to get down to your comment, but that's the way it goes in live shows. All right.
Yeah, did you have to work tonight, Courtney? Probably.
Okay. So, what events are people looking forward to next year? Are there any big events?
Well, Horror Mayhem's coming back.
Horror Mayhem's coming back.
And New Worlds November's coming back.
All right.
That's cool.
Then our Faulkner in August, we're doing As I Lay Dying. I think a lot of people are going to come to that because it's a good end to Faulkner, Good book if you haven't read Faulkner before.
What about you, Elizabeth?
Well, if we're promoting readathons, People April is coming back.
People April is coming. Okay.
Yeah.
People April. What's People April, Elizabeth?
People April. It's a readathon where you are invited to read nonfiction about people. So biographies, autobiographies, diaries, correspondence, things like that.
Awesome. Oh, I can get involved in that. That's cool.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I think those books will be covered by the Book 2 prize, assuming that I'm a judge, but
yeah. Oh yeah, there's always a tons of memoirs and biographies in the Book 2 prize.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Merchant.
One of the most recent. Sorry.
You had an idea for an event that you never did was about reading books about artworks.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about it. I'm going to do something, and then I got a flood in my apartment, and then I said, "Heck with it."
I remember that. Yeah, condo. You got a flood. Yeah.
Yeah, I woke up one morning, there was water everywhere, and of course I called the plumber. I turned off the water first, and then I called the plumber and all of that, and it turns out it was a pipe behind the washing machine that had decided to burst during the night. So it leaked, it more than leaked, but all night long. I didn't hear a thing, and there was so much water everywhere.
Jeez.
And yeah,
Water,
and
water and books don't go together.
No, they
no,
don't.
and I had books on the floor. They were from the library, so I had to pay to
Oh,
replace them. But the insurance paid back. It's a good thing to have insurance. The insurance paid back,
Insurance is a
and
good thing.
yeah,
Now,
and
Yeah.
and I'm still waiting for things to be repaired.
now,
Yeah,
are you on the ground floor,
Yeah.
or so you don't have someone below you who got?
Well,
So
I have a neighbor that got affected, but the next door unit that shares a wall with the washing machine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a long process. At the I've signed contracts, and repair people are supposed to come, and I decided to take the occasion to make more repairs and change things to the bathroom and the electricity and things like that. So it's going to be a bit of a construction zone at the end of January in here.
okay.
Oh, good luck with that.
Thank you.
be over soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But coming back to the art readathon, would you still be
Yeah.
interested in hosting,
I
Greg?
would. There's a
Okay.
see what I'd love to do
Yeah.
is I have to ask permission because I live near the National Gallery,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I mean, it's a free art museum.
Mhm.
If they would let me go in and film a video in front of like famous pieces of art and talk about them.
Oh wow, that'd be cool.
Well, I'd have to ask permission to do that, but
Mhm.
since it's
Yeah.
open, they probably say don't film anyone who doesn't want to be filmed. And
Yeah.
You might go in there and say, "I'm Greg from Another Bibliophile Reads," and they go, "Oh my god, that's amazing! Please come in. We're honoured that you're here."
Gareth,
Yeah.
you might be living in an alternative universe here.
Yeah. Oh, well, you have
We're
YouTube
not-
influencer credentials.
I
Yeah.
do.
I have more than 1,000 subscribers. People watch me.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm looking for my national. Wait, I think I found it. Yeah, Greg, you talking about this by any chance?
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, we toured it with Hannah.
Hmm. Oh, that must have been fun.
It was.
Yeah.
So I would love to do that. I'm trying to think of because one of my other favorite biographies was of Van Gogh. I read a Van Gogh biography, and the problem with that one is I was reading it on a Kindle Fire, which is sort of a color thing, and they talk about artists that was influencing Van Gogh. So I look it up on the internet, and all of a sudden they have this whole webpage of this one artist, and I spent an hour going through all his artworks, and so it was very much of a rabbit hole kind of book, especially on an e-device where you can just
Yeah,
go
just
look.
click.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's quite cool though.
Okay. Then I'll Voxer you, because my next question is, when do we squeeze it in? Because BookTube is a very, very
It
busy
is.
calendar. Yeah.
What months are kind of light?
I don't know. February?
In March and Mammoth.
March of
March
the
of the
Mammoth.
Mammoths is
March
another
of the
one I always do.
Madness.
Yeah, I haven't.
I mean, I think you might have to just pick one that you want to do, because probably every month's got something going on. So
Yeah,
just
there's
do
something
whatever
every month.
one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything going on in April.
People April.
People, but yours is all right. People, April. Getting
Yeah.
old and forgetting things. It's easy.
Yeah. Then. Yeah, we'll think of something.
Well, we'll think of something.
God, I might have to read this for Marching Mammoths. It's been on my shelf for years.
Ooh.
I've got 2 copies of it. I've got a hardback and a paperback.
And you haven't read either one.
No, I must like it was in a box in Phoenix, and then I was at a library sale, and I go, "Oh, I always want to read that." So now I've got 2 of them.
I have it on my shelf. I bought it when it originally came out in hardcover, thinking because it got such great reviews. And you put it on your shelf, and it's been sitting there since the 80s.
Oh.
I can't find an audio book of it either. It's like 900 pages, 947.
That would be what, 50 hours?
I don't know.
Depends. 36, something like that.
That's still a full week of work.
Yeah, this book was 36 hours on audio, and it's only 700 pages of text and about a couple hundred of notes.
Tell you what, there is an interesting event that MJ is starting at the 24 in 24, the 24 banned books.
Yes,
I'm doing that.
I'm doing that one as well.
Yeah,
I've not picked out all my 24 books yet. Trying not to backload it with lots of old banned books, which are my favorite, because some of the more modern banned books, I'm looking at it like I looked up one. It was Sarah J. Maas.
Oh, okay.
Court of.
I can't imagine that. I don't think that's going to be your kind of style. I wouldn't have thought.
Well, yeah, it's sort of fantasy romance.
Yeah, I think it's YA, Greg.
I know that's what's being banned right now. They're not banning adult books that much anymore. They're all banning
The children and all of that. Yeah,
children and YA, and I'm like, how do I really participate in this? Get something a little more contemporary that I would actually want to read and not come up and go like, because what I don't want to do is come up with a book that's banned for young adults about sexuality and say this is a bad book, because it's just not. I'm not the intended audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't want to help people people ban a book against a marginalized group that I have nothing against. So
yeah. Well, I think that event is more about highlighting some of the crazy reasons why these books are banned, isn't it? So whether it's good or not is a different subject, a different conversation.
It is.
I mean, it can be the same conversation, but it's still a different part of the conversation, isn't it? If you're going to review
the thing is, you'd have to do it because that's why I don't want to help marginalized people who've already marginalized by saying this is not a good book. And
exactly.
Stay away from it, not review it. You're not doing any harm.
Mm-hmm.
Like banned book? Did they ban this?
The book
I think the book is one of them. I think.
Yeah, because I'm gonna buddy read this with Sarah. I forgot her channel name. Like in January, February. It's been on my shelf for couple of years.
What's the reason for banning that book?
Well, it was translated into 40 languages and sold over 16 million copies. That's one good reason.
I suppose.
I don't know.
Well, the main reason I think it's banned is that the young girl in that book is going against the Nazis.
Right. It won the National Jewish Book Award.
Right. And, people are trying to ban Maus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason they give for banning Maus is that it has mouse nudity.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, well, Donald Duck never wore any pants. So
filthy. Yeah.
He knows all about that.
But I heard a commenter say, the real reason they're banning that is because they don't want their kids looking how the Germans treated the Jews and find a correlation between how they're treating other people nowadays. That's the reason they're banning it. Because
yeah.
It's trouble.
But that's why it's good to talk about it on the channel, isn't it? Because you can make those parallels.
You can make the parallels. You're treating LGBTQ people just the same way as they treated the Jews back in that time, and don't want those poor kids drawing a correlation.
No.
Absolutely.
So that's another go. Yeah, that's one I'm going to be definitely doing. And then someone says, of course, there is Garbogust.
Of course.
Do you do that, Elizabeth? Do you do Garbogust? I think you do, don't you?
Yes, I go towards the romance side. I love a good romance book, and I read, and if I had to make a list of the worst books I read this year, they would all be romance, unfortunately.
Was you a co-host as well this year?
No.
Oh. I can just imagining what name you'd be given if you were a co-host.
Or the worst is I thought about it, I would be boobies and butts.
Well, if you're ever that's what you would be.
I can't come up with one for me.
Well,
No.
big hard books and classics.
Yeah, I can't come
The
up
first
with,
two words do not change.
And the letter of the third does not change. Let's keep it clean.
just go with like big hard bricks and basics. Big hard bricks and basics.
Alice saying happy anniversary.
Yeah, I haven't said happy anniversary yet. Happy anniversary to you two, because it's also been 3 years.
It's a lot of videos we did.
I think I've watched every one of them.
So here's William. If a 900-page book is a mammoth, is a 2,000-page book a whale?
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
A whale's bigger than mammoths?
They're bigger than a mammoth.
This is over 1,000 pages.
Yeah. Well, 2,000. What book is 2,000 pages? I think the biggest I've seen were about 1,500. I don't think I've seen a 2,000-page book.
I have one that's bigger, that's more than that. Well, let's see.
Said.
This is a translation of a diary. Guy wrote in Italian with, let me not do the end notes. The actual text of the book is 2,071 pages long.
Okay. That's a lot.
And I remember Steve Donahue talked about this. His comment was this man had a mental disorder. He physically could not stop writing. It just, there's a word for it. He had to write. And just, I read the first 40 pages or so, and it was interesting enough, but I don't know if it'd be interesting enough for 2,000 pages.
Yeah.
Well, it reminds me of what Elizabeth said about the third Three Musketeers book. They just kept writing it.
That might be more than 2,000 pages.
Yeah. I think it's about 1,500.
Okay.
Yeah. But by that time, Dumas was paid by the line. So there's tons of ridiculous dialogues just to add one line, because let's say there's a character saying, "Can you hear me? Yes. Are we alone? Yes. Just 1 second, I'll go check. Okay, we are alone. Okay, I have something to tell you." And that's 50 cents each time. And it's
He's just trying to pay his bills.
exactly a lot of bills, because he was a big spender.
Sorry, read that first.
Something just came to me. I read Crime and Punishment this year, also Dune and Psycho, but still Godfather could still be my favorite. It is the best story about revenge, in my opinion. Okay.
Well, I haven't read it, but The Count of Monte Cristo is a good revenge story.
I think that may be the all-time classic revenge story.
Yeah.
And Crime and Punishment, I want to reread that. Of course, I want to reread The Brothers Karamazov. I'm just geeking. They did a new translation.
Yeah, the new one. Now that Garrett or
Constant Garnett.
Garnett, yeah, that's the one I have. Unfortunately,
yeah, she apparently was not 100% fluent in Russian.
Well,
there were words she didn't know.
Yeah.
And she got around that by just ignoring them.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's not a good way to go. There's a story of the author André Gide, so Gide. He translated Shakespeare, but he did not speak English. He asked a friend to take like a copy of a play and to translate word for word, just right above the word what it meant. And then he made sentences with that. And that was his translation of Shakespeare.
That's not what language is it?
As far as I know, his translations of Shakespeare are not used. Because Perhaps
Funny
they're
that.
very pretty, but they're not Shakespeare. So
Right. And was
Yeah.
it? But Constant Garnett. There's one I remember. There's a character named in Russian Lizaveta Shmerdakov or something like,
Mhm.
which apparently Shmerdakov in Russian is something stinky,
Okay.
right? And the most translations will go stinky Lizaveta, smelly Lizaveta,
Ugh.
reeking Lizaveta. She just ignored that. She just said, I'm not calling a woman stinky because it's impolite to call a woman stinky.
Yeah, well,
It's a funny word.
it's defensible. If she doesn't translate any names, I guess it's a choice you can make.
Right?
Um,
And some translators just don't translate the name. They put it
Yeah.
in a footnote.
yeah. Well, let's say you write a book about Tiger Woods. Are you going to translate Tiger and Woods?
It's
Even though
amazing.
both words probably have a translation in different languages,
They
he's
probably
just going
do.
to remain Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Don't translate like proper names, but
Exactly.
you know.
Unless, well, sometimes they do. Like in Harry Potter, the translators generally did translate the names
Oh
because there
yeah.
were puns and word plays and meanings in that. So
Ah,
in that case, it's worth to translate them.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
well, I think Dostoevsky deliberately gave it like a rough name just to prove the point. In which case, then you probably would want to include it.
In that case, yes. Yeah.
So Almighty Ohm, I read To Kill a Mockingbird and Ghost Set a Watchman. One is banned for language and subject
Of
matter.
course.
The other for themes. One is banned. The other is canceled.
yeah. I think Al did a video on Ghost Set a Watchman, I believe.
Yeah.
Or short.
Yeah.
I love Kill a Mockingbird. I really love that book, but I don't know. I haven't read the sequel. It's
Yeah.
funny. There's a huge gap, wasn't there, between when they were written?
No. What happened? What happened, as I understand it, is Ghost Set a Watchman was the first book she tried to write, and then she gave it up and rewrote it as To Kill a Mockingbird.
Okay.
That's how I understand it.
Yeah. So
It-
Ghost at a Watchman's is like a first draft.
Or for just initial like introducing the character and going, I can do. And then there's the whole thing is like, did Truman Capote help her write
Yeah.
Kill a
Yeah,
Mockingbird?
right.
Yeah.
No one will never know.
No, now everybody's dead.
There was a book
Everybody's dead.
from bookstores in Canada because the book title was Steal This Book.
I remember that book.
Abby Hoffman, I believe, is the author.
Abby Hoffman is a character in that Kiki Friedman book I just read. Anyway,
Book Thief is great, says Peter the Book Lover.
all right, good. I'm looking forward to reading it then.
Todd Yahoo, cheers to your 1 year live, guys. Continue greatness.
Thanks, Todd.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. Most large 1,000 page books tend to be academic or translations with commentaries. I don't agree. Especially, well, depends on what genre you're reading. If you're reading the fantasy genre, 1,000 page book is.
Yeah, there are some big fantasy books. Yeah, you're right.
Historical novels too. Sometimes they can be long.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
This is the
Science
biggest book
fiction novels.
Of course. Of course.
Hello, Bookish Bryant. We got Scott and Becky, or maybe just Scott, or maybe just Becky. I don't know.
Yeah, this is 1,000 pages long. Wow, man.
The Grand Inquisitor from the Brothers Karamazov was required reading in one of my philosophy classes.
Ah.
When I reread the Brothers Karamazov, I skipped it. The first time I read through it, and the second time decided, I'll just skip it.
Yeah. On translations, I know two I Ching authors take that book from another language and machine translate, publish as their own.
That's not great. Yeah.
You know, I forgot who told me because a while ago I was reading some poems by Rumi. And do I have this one? Yeah, I have it. This is the book I was mostly reading from. And the woman who translated this is fluent in Farsi. And you look up on YouTube, she's a Farsi. You can hear her reading actually, she sings the original Farsi. Wow. Which is actually quite amazing. It's like, okay, that's kind of neat. And then and then I got another book translated by someone else. And a commenter mentioned, that translator doesn't speak Farsi. He just read multiple versions of Rumi and created his own version.
Yeah. It happens also for Gilgamesh a lot.
I've heard that. One of the ones I read in Gilgamesh by Michael. No. Stephen Michaels.
Stephen Mitchell.
Steve Mitchell. That's it.
Yeah.
He just wrote his own.
Yeah, he says it right away. I'm not a scholar. I do not read the original. I just researched the topic a lot, and here's what I think of it, basically.
Okay. At least if you're upfront with it, that's okay. All right, Brian, hello. Congratulations on 1 year of this. Yes, GSW is the original. They asked her to rework it to kill. Okay, Go Set a Walk is the original. He just confirming what we said before.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
It is better than a first draft, in my humble opinion. Okay, Scott is watching. Becky is listening. Okay.
No.
Yeah, I was going to say, Elizabeth, Becky reads a lot of romance. Becky over there. So.
Alan, I think she likes alien romance.
Oh,
that's a little different.
Yeah, there's so many subgenres of romance, and some read them all, but some others I tend to stick to human romances.
Dark Gothic vampire romance.
Yeah, vampires, shapeshifters, aliens, ghosts, all sort of paranormal stuff. Yeah.
Well, I did one for Garbagest where it was Tetris blocks. I swear, and the author mentioned he was living at home with his mother. I'm going, yeah, if you're writing about women having sex, you just sound like the kind of guy who lives with his mother.
Yeah, you should go out more.
Yeah.
I have a copy of Ulysses. I bought at Hedge Things in Dublin.
Oh, that's a nice copy. Mm-hmm. I used to have a nice copy of Dubliners.
So the Bookish Brian, I saw the new version of Brothers Karamazov released in 2023. That will be my first reading of that book by any translator.
Oh,
okay. I'm waiting for the price to come down because the hardcover is still like $40.
Wow.
And the Kindle version is $26. And I'm going, it's a reread for me. I can wait till the price drops a little bit.
Yeah, the Ulysses book came out at like $50, but it came out pushing like 2 years ago, and I bought it for $35. So off Amazon, they had a special. And I go, damn, and I could afford it at the time, so I got it.
Your buddy is looking over your shoulder, Garrett. He's like,
yeah, I know. I've got Ralph here as well. It's rare to have Ralph on screen, so and say hello.
Hey, Ralph.
That's Ralph. So I've got 3 animals. I've got his brother Chico over there as well. But yeah, he's normally asleep next to me when I'm doing these videos and stuff. He's jumping off now. He's off to go. Bye. He's an old man now. But they're all old, actually. She's older. She's older than all of them. She's 16. Yeah, Rosie. So there you go.
I don't know what the book is, but it's 2000
I know that.
1917.
I know that book, Greg. It's a like spiritual book. I came across that book. A person turned me on. They have groups. It's like a. It's like oh, I can't remember that, but it's like a spiritual book. Urantia. I can't pronounce it, but it's another planet, and they think it's tied in with God, and that it's kind of cultish.
Okay.
That was the
Okay.
vibe I got from it, but yeah, like that A Course in Miracles, that book, and they have like groups that meet and read it together. It's one of those books.
So someone's mentioning Interview with the Vampire, I guess for vampire romance. Although I don't remember being a lot of romance. I read it a long time ago. I don't remember romance in that one.
I mean, since like post Twilight, there's an actual genre now called romantasy, isn't there? Which is like fantasy romance.
Yeah. Yeah, and
so-
there's quite a few booktube channels where the person just reads either fantasy or romance or fantasy romance.
Yeah.
They
It's very
seem to be a
popular.
good mix.
Yeah. All thanks to Twilight.
Just takes one.
Yeah.
All you have to do is figure out what that magic new formula is.
Huh?
Yeah. There'll be something else. Yeah.
Well, I think the latest hot book is Dragons.
Oh God, Fourth Wing. I'm in that now.
Someone said it's dragon porn, and I'm going like, is there?
Dragon Top Gun. Top Gun with dragons. It's kind of like what potty mouth YAs go to dragon camp.
All
They're
right.
all the F word and dropping F bombs all the time, and I'm about ready to DNF that book too.
Yeah.
But
I
I'm
can
reading
imagine that.
I'm reading it with MJ. She's gone, so we can talk about it.
There's a book talking about dragons. There's a book that I bought ages ago, which I just saw it like for £2, and I knew about it. I thought, I'll pick that up, and it just looks really interesting. Called A Natural History of Dragons, and it's like a novel, but I think it's a kind of like an exercise in world building as well, from what I gather. But that's been quite popular as well. There's a series as well, but that was the first one. Natural. Do you guys know about that? Natural History of Dragons.
I have seen it pop up on like an Amazon list of you may be interested in this book, and
Yeah.
I'm going to be in like dark academia. That's a genre now too. Dark academia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a hard time pinpointing what it is. I keep hearing the name and hearing some books mentioned, but
That book Babel, and the writer of Babel.
I've heard someone mention that.
I almost read that.
Of course,
How do you read a book?
the Dark Academia. I don't know if that is magic now, because like magic schools and colleges, or is it like Donna Tartt's The Secret History?
yeah, I think it's more like that. It's something intellectual, but with a dark side, or
Set in a college class area.
yeah, set in a university setting or something.
Boy, I really like The Secret History. That was killer.
I didn't read it yet. I say yet
haven't
because I
read
think I may read it one day.
What's the Goldfinch? I haven't read that. I was in a group like 2-3 years ago on BookTube, and something like life happened, and I had to stop reading it. So I've never read that. I have to go back and read that, The Goldfinch. But I love The Secret History. Yeah, I think you'd like it too, Elizabeth.
Yeah,
I
I
read
think so
that
too.
2 years ago, something like that. It's very interesting because I'd read that book, and there's a lot of talk about translating ancient Greek.
Yeah.
What?
Okay, I'm interested.
And
Yeah.
the premise is that you have a student who goes, it's not called Bennington College, but it's Bennington College because Donna Tartt went to Bennington College. And, there's a very special professor who teaches ancient Greek. And he only has like 3 students. and this fourth student and that's all they do is learn Greek.
Mhm.
That's the whole curriculum. And he has enough curriculum that he says, well, you'll have a liberal arts degree when you finish. And things get sort of out of control because some of the students decide to kill one of the other students.
Okay, that's the dark aspect.
That's the dark. But talking about the Greek language just all of a sudden had me fascinated because they have all these different tenses that we don't have in English. And you can change the tense of a word and all of a sudden change the entire meaning of the sentence.
Wow.
And then it just so happened, like a couple months later, I read a book called The Lincoln Highway. No, it was not The Lincoln Highway. It was about someone translating a book from Greek again.
Okay.
And I go like, I really I should have studied ancient Greek when I was in university. That would have been fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the type of thing I like to think I would have liked to do, but I'm pretty sure I would not have.
I think I probably would have been really terrible at it because it probably
Yeah,
lot of
Latin
memory.
perhaps, but Greek, yeah.
Well, even though there's some connection to the English and French,
Yeah.
to the Greek language, but it'd be just very difficult.
So few.
All those symbols and weird looking letters.
Well, the writing is different, but also the structure and everything is so different, as opposed to Latin, which feels, despite the declensions, it feels much easier.
Well, I know in Greek is when you start off writing right to left, the next line is left to right.
Oh,
I didn't know
okay.
that.
Like a snake.
I guess which sort of makes sense if you're writing things by hand. And
Yeah.
Well, you could really read faster then, Greg. Because it's just like, gee.
I don't know. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's true or not. Because
Yeah, I was studying in Latin. About 20 years ago, and I had a girlfriend who had those Rosetta Stone cassettes. That's how it was back in cassette days, like in the 90s. And I had a friend who knew Latin, and they were helping me, but I never stuck with it. I wish I kind of would have, but
I did the what's the big translation program that's really popular? They used to be not Babbel.
Rosetta Stone?
People?
No.
They have a Latin course. I started taking the Latin course, and I got through 10 lessons. And I'm going like, this is
Duolingo.
Duolingo. That's it. Duolingo.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, why am I bothering learning Latin?
Yeah.
But again,
Yeah.
then again, I wanted to learn Greek, so who knows? So Brian, regarding Brothers Karamazov, I'll be rereading the Grand Inquisitor, but I usually skip past all the Elder Zosima backstory and sermonizing.
Yeah, it's another good place to skip.
Well, Dostoevsky just, as I said, he wrote like his brain was on fire sometimes, and just.
Yeah. Well, earlier this year, I reread The Idiot, and I was surprised. It's in 4 parts, and the first part is plotted so tightly. My God, I did not remember that Dostoevsky could write so tightly. And then in part 2, it just starts to unravel. And it's obvious that he had planned the first part. And then by the second part, he was writing by the seat of his pants and he was just improvising stuff. And it just went all over the place. And at some point in the 4th part, he sort of apologizes for insisting on characters that should have been talked about more. Because in the first part, they were secondary characters. And by now, they are main characters. It's all over the place.
Now, Elizabeth, you studied Russian, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and not really studied. I used a sort of self-help book, and I did lessons. The method was Assimil, which is very popular in French, and I went through half the book. And then one summer, I decided to go to Russia for 1 month to study Russian. But then again, it was just some sort of summer program. It was not really serious. And when I came back after that, I did not open a single book of Russian. So I've
Okay.
lost it all.
'Cause I used to work with a guy when I worked at Borders Books who was a Russian immigrant who talked about Dostoevsky's writing style.
Yeah.
And he said point blank, he's a terrible stylist. He just very bad writing.
Yeah.
But he said he wrote with hooks. I don't know what he meant by that. I mean, I think he was struggling because English was his second language, to describe the original Russian. But that's all I remember. He said he really was very bad at writing.
Yeah, I know he has a bad reputation. In French, he's been, well, recently he was retranslated by a translator who said that the previous, of course, he said all previous translations were bad because they sounded like Tolstoy, and Dostoevsky does not sound like Tolstoy, so it should be different. So, yeah. So now I'm trying to read this translator. I do find them more interesting with that translator, but with hooks, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what he meant by that.
Yeah. Well,
but
he's
I
good at psychology with the how characters think and the reasons why they behave in such and such way, or perhaps there's no reason. He just makes them behave in a way that's very human.
Yeah.
Yeah. That.
And the one thing about the style is I remember in Crime and Punishment, someone criticized the Pever and Lovensky translation because in his little garret, they describe a table as round and oval in the English. And they get, the translators, that's a bad translation. So someone who read Russian says, you've never read the Russian, have you? Because in the Russian, it has round and oval describing the table. And I guess most translators just clean that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
it's the sort of thing we do.
But is that a good way to, or should you translate his idiosyncrasy? If it's like that in Russian.
Yeah, it should. I think.
Well, now
or a case for both.
I would say it's a trend. There used to be a trend in translation, like in 19th century, early 20th century, to make everything pretty, just to make beautiful sentences in your language, regardless of what was written in the original. And in some cases, if you go even farther back in the 16th century, they would barely bother with the original. They would rewrite something else. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it was, the original was more an inspiration than an actual original. And nowadays we focus much more on the accuracy of we are trying to match more one word in one language and the equivalent word in the other language. Instead of focusing on the meaning behind the words, or perhaps.
Well, I just read and reviewed Clarice Lispector's a collection of her short stories, and then The Hour of the Star. And for reread, what is it? Remember December?
Yep.
Or you reread, and then also read a different translation. Well, I listened to another translation, and it was Ben Moser. It was really interesting. A lot of differences.
Yeah. Yeah, we tend to think that there's only one way to translate something, but no, there's multiple ways.
I speak a really small amount of Spanish, so I can sort of understand. It's like, and there's one. It was a really interesting book. Is in Spanish you have the formal you and the informal you, and they're a husband and wife were talking, and they had been married for 17 years. And they were still using the formal you, which the translator says, I have to put this in a footnote, but you can't translate that.
The way to translate it would be to adapt it. You would have to say, perhaps they could address one another by Mr. X, Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith.
Right.
Which would be very odd after 17 years of marriage.
It would, but still, it's like, okay, that's really weird to be using the formal you after 17 years of marriage. But that was fun.
Yeah.
I'm not religious, but I minored in philosophy in college. And philosophy of religion was required, and we had to read The Grand Inquisitor for the class.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is that it's often used as the great text for atheism, saying this justifies atheism. But Dostoevsky himself was not an atheist.
Oh no. Oh no. Very religious man.
Very religious.
Yeah.
I remember now. Have you read Notes from Underground?
Yes.
When I was taking my, again, it's like philosophy of religion. We read that. And apparently, when Dostoevsky originally did the first draft, the Underground Man was cured at the end of the book by accepting Jesus Christ as his savior.
Yeah.
And apparently Dostoevsky says, that really not a good book. So
too corny.
So he took it out, which is probably the right choice, even though that was his personal belief.
Yeah.
He understood enough not to force that on his readers.
Mm-hmm.
Bookish Bryant. Sorry, it took me a minute to bring the video up. Human romance books are overrated unless they're cowboys, Becky. Okay.
That's awesome.
You're perfect for Garbogast. You've got to get on Garbogast and get some of those non-human romances out there.
I have to try a dragon or a shapeshifter or something.
Or Tetris blocks.
Or Tetris blocks. Or octopus.
You know what book you might like, Elizabeth, is Marlon James. Marlon James's Black Leopard, Red Wolf. I really like that. I like his writing. I've read like 3 of his books.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 or 4.
I haven't tried him yet. Yeah.
He's Jamaican, black guy.
Yeah, I know he won the Booker a few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I like him. Really original. Now, Hamilton Thompson, how are you?
Hello. I'm just bringing him up. Academy romances are all the rage on Kindle Unlimited.
I can see that. I hope it's not just between teacher and student. Sometimes that creeps me out.
I honestly, I don't pick up the romances on the Kindle Unlimited.
Oh.
I maybe for Garbogast, someone needs to recommend one to me. Are we talking about Donna Tartt? Yes, we were talking about Donna Tartt.
Yeah. She's great. She did an audio book of somebody.
True Grit.
Oh.
I recommend that as actually one of the best narrated audiobooks that I've listened to a lot of audiobooks, but she, for whatever reason, she's never narrated another audiobook in her life as far as I know, but she just nailed the character of Maddie.
Yeah. Oh, the female lead.
Right.
Well, True Grit is one of my favorite books of the year. I read that for June on the Range. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I've never read the book, but I saw the movies.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I've seen both movies as well. But yeah, the book's worth reading, even if you know the movies.
It is.
It's got a real character to it.
As a regular Western, I think that comes up very top of best Westerns.
Oh,
that's like a true Western book, not like some of the Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy is often called a Western, even though not really a Western. I have a few Loeb classics, which are Greek or Latin on one page and English on the facing page.
Oh, that'd be nice.
I know I have a couple of books in Spanish like that, and I can actually read a couple of paragraphs, but if I tried just on regular Spanish alone,
no.
Right. I have Dante's Inferno. We read this, me and Tommaso.
Mm-hmm.
English on one and Italian. I would love to read Italian, or maybe the gateway to Italian is learning Spanish first.
No, they're sort of close, not real, but but if you want to learn Italian, just learn Italian.
Yeah.
Oh.
See, Alan, I can say this to you because you're a single guy. If you really want to learn Italian, get an Italian girlfriend.
Yeah, I know. Same with.
That would be the best way to learn Italian.
I know.
See, I can't do that because I'm a married guy. I can't.
From your lips to God's ears.
Yeah.
My wife's half Italian, and even though she grew up with an Italian dad who spoke Italian all the way around the house and all that, and she understands Italian very well. When we went over as a family, there was 8 adults and 8 kids, so there's 16 of us that went on this big family trip. So her and her brothers grew up with an Italian dad, and I was the only one that kept trying to speak to them in Italian with my phrase books, because they kept going, "Oh, Gareth, you do it," and I was like, "All right," even though they could understand Italian, but they were scared to actually speak it.
Yeah.
But my wife's learning it on Duolingo now. My wife and my daughter are both learning Italian on Duolingo.
Did you go to Florence, Gareth?
They I haven't been to Florence yet. Her family live in a small village called Valveri, which is near Cassino. So Cassino is quite famous because of the big battle that happened at World War II. It's like on top of a mountain, like really proper, like rural Italy. The whole village was built up by 4 families. So,
wow.
And one of them was her dad's family.
Oh, huh?
Very small.
I took Latin in college, one of the most useless classes, but fun. Here is bad. Happy anniversary, Greg and Alan. I'm sorry I'm late, but I'm feeling sick. Renee, food poisoning, just resting. Congratulations, friends. I wish you more amazing shows. I hope you feel better, bad. If it's food poisoning, sleep, maybe the best.
Yeah.
Hang in there for a couple of days.
Horrible. Yeah, get well soon.
Yeah.
Mm.
Can't stick around. I'm just sleeping. Have fun and replay tomorrow.
Yeah.
Byron, gotta go. Early start tomorrow. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Tell you what, I've got to go really because it's gone 2:30 now, and
yeah. Well, we're at the end of the comments, except for the last one. I learned Spanish on the job as a paramedic because we respond to a lot of Hispanic people who don't speak English.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I can understand that. I still would rather have the girlfriend who spoke the language.
You need your respect for firefighters and paramedics.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Because the thing is, you never know who you're gonna encounter on your next call. All right, Gareth, you're gonna say goodnight.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. It's really nice to chat, Elizabeth, and your channel is awesome. So it's nice to speak to you in person.
Yes.
And happy anniversary, boys. And here's to many more.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys. See you later.
All right. Good night. All right. Well, we've actually been on for an hour and 37 minutes. So, Elizabeth, you probably got to work tomorrow too, right?
Yep. Retirement is still about 15 years away.
Oh,
Well, my retirement is because we just had good luck with real estate.
Oh. Yeah.
Greg's wife is retiring in a few months too.
Yeah, she's
Both of you are retired.
she's 6 months away from retirement.
Oh, that's great.
That's
Well,
sweet.
she's got a government job, so
Yeah.
she gets the government pension,
Yeah.
and you have to be 56 and a half before they allow you to retire.
And a half.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's government bureaucracy, but the day she turns 56 and a half is going to be her last day.
Yeah. Well, I have a colleague who said that the day I turned 60, I'm out of here. He's 62. He's still there.
Well, maybe he just likes his job.
Yeah. That's what he said. What would I do if I was retired? I have nothing to do all day. Might as well work.
Yeah, I don't know. I like my retirement, although I'm not really retired. I still work sometimes, but
Yeah.
I have no problem killing my time. I never get bored. I've got the old guitar. I like to draw, paint.
Yeah, you have art, you have books, you have music. Yeah.
albums. Yeah.
He did. I remember I worked with a guy, this is back early 2000, who was like 72, 74. And you listen to him, he owned houses that he rented out. So it sounded like he had lots of money. He just says, men who retire are men who die.
Oh, yeah.
That was his theory.
My father has been retired for 30 years now. So,
Yeah, my father.
Then men can definitely retire and not die.
yeah.
Sure.
Well, I hope to have the 30. I hope to have the 30-year retirement as well,
Yeah.
or longer.
Or longer. Yeah, he's still going.
Hey, Greg, I got a question about totally off topic or subject. Did you go to your meditation group last night?
No, our meditation teacher is taking a little bit of a rest.
Oh, but I'm glad you enjoyed going. That's really cool.
It was. It's hard to get motivated just on your own, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you get in a routine, it's easier to stick with the routine.
It is.
Try to meditate every morning, 20 minutes. When I wake up.
I have arrived to say goodnight, though I missed it, but I squeaked in happy anniversary. Well, happy that you stopped by, Angelia. Okay. Well, Elizabeth, let's call it a night.
Yeah.
And maybe in another year, more people will show up.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And then
I think we did pretty good for a Monday night. It's about average viewership. So thank you so much for dropping by.
But you're welcome.
Great.
My pleasure.
Get with the schedule and get with Elizabeth.
I'll send you a Voxer sometime the second or third or fourth week in January, so we can talk about the BookTube Prize nominations and see which ones we approve of and which ones we don't.
Yeah.
I guess we have to be a little careful, especially if we've read some, because we don't want to influence people. But talking about what we voted for and hope to get passed.
Yeah. Well, most of them I will not have read. I think I've read perhaps 5 or 6 that perhaps maybe could make the list. So
I know 2 books that I think are going to make the list. The biography, the King biography.
Yeah.
A book called The Wager. The Shipwreck.
Yeah, I've read that one, The Wager.
I have that one on audio that just waiting in the wings. I don't know if I want to wait for the BookTube Prize or just listen to it and say, well, if I get nominated, I don't have to read it then. But those are the 2 that I'm pretty sure are going to make it on.
Yeah, the King biography, yes, it's a shoo-in. That's what
I think that's a shoo-in probably to the final round. I'm guessing. Now, I have been told that biographies tend not to do well in the long run.
If the Sylvia Plath biography made it to the final 2 years ago, then the King biography can make it. Yeah, it was a huge brick of 1,300 pages, I think.
Read something.
This made it to 2 rounds.
Yeah.
And I thought this was a really fabulous biography, even though you don't get to know Hoover all that well because no one knows Hoover all that well.
Yeah.
But I thought that was I would have really wanted that one to go further if I read it, but oh well. Okay. Well, until a future time, everyone, have a good evening. Good night.
Cheers.